on every one of these people's journeys, they encountered like a dark night of the soul where it was like, we're done. We're done. We're done.
It's over.
The company's bankrupt. Just like Apple. Just like Apple in the late 90s. They were done.
Yeah, they were like three weeks of payroll left in the bank account. That was it.
Yeah, they were done. Yeah. And not only that, no one even looked at, not only did you not have any money, the brand was so bankrupt. What's going on, bro?
Time.
Again. Dude, I had, it's crazy. I've had like a crazy, talking about, we talked about the Tao, right?
Yep.
Tao teaching and the Tao. And I had like the most productive day ever today. Like where I got everything done. I got more shit done and it just all came so easy,
Really?
And it's so, and it's so weird. It's like when you start like watching for the Tao, like the flow of the Tao, and when you're in that river, when it's going to jut you forward or when it's pushing back this way, it's like you no longer, like it kind of separated my ego from like, oh, I kicked ass today, where I was just like, it's just the Tao. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, dude, it was almost effortless. And I just knocked boom, 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 boom.
And
so there was no ego.
Do you feel good now?
I feel good. Yeah, I feel good because I finally got a lot of stuff off my plate, and that was kind of a relief. And I feel good because I think I'm developing a more subtle awareness of the Tao. It's really, dude, since I wrote that chapter on the Tao Te Ching like a week or two ago for the book, the Zen Protocol, it really hit me like, oh, I'm not writing this for anybody else but myself. And I kind of was like, this is the next like real big focus for me, is starting to have this subtle awareness of when the Tao, where it's pulling me, and is it giving me energy or is it feeding against me? Am I going to fight a rip current, or am I going to, because I don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, my purpose with the Tao was go with the current. And today I went with the current and I was like, dude, I'm like swimming so fast, and it's not me. I'm not swimming fast. The Tao is swimming fast. So that's why I feel good. It was like a real like, whoa, that's really, really cool.
It's when it clicks, it clicks.
Yeah. And the previous 2 days, I had 2 days ago, I had a day, not yesterday, but 2 days ago, I had a day where the Tao was fighting against me. And I was like, oh, bro, I was so overwhelmed with the energy coming against me in so many facets of people, business, whatever, anything I was trying to accomplish, where I was like, okay, this is like, can you not let this wear on you? Right. And
sure.
it was difficult, where I was like, it's very easy to take this personally. Whereas like, no, if you're in this modality of the Tao, if this is like what you're really striving for, you got to understand that you're in a rip current, and don't take it personally, because rip current doesn't give a shit about you. You know what I mean? The rip current is ripping out no matter what you do, irrespective of whether you're caught in it or not.
Well, it's always like that. It's always like that. If you, that's why like that analogy, the example of like, when like car accidents and the guy's drunk, and like apparently like when someone's drunk and they get into a car accident, they get less hurt because of like that, like their body just goes with inertia and is not braced. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I've heard that Dude, like there's,
it's funny you say that. There was like a child when I was a kid, one of like my parents' friends, older guy, worked in a casino, was kind of a drunk. And that happened to him, where he hit a parked car so fast. And they were like, he survived because he was so drunk, he was just relaxed.
Yeah.
And I was like, truth. Wow.
Like we fight we fight and force and try so difficult to make things be what we want them to be. And like the what's the word? The paradox to it is that like the more you take ownership over your life and the more you try to influence it with positive measures, you'll get better results. But then there's that point to where like you can't control everything and you got to just go. So it's like it's fucked up.
And it is the paradox. And there is that paradox where it's like, okay, I'm a big believer in like setting goals, but at the same time, I'm a big believer in setting goals and forgetting them.
Yeah. And not making
putting them out there. Yeah.
Not having them be concrete and finite, because I actually think the art of goal setting is more important than having the goals in the first place. Like the goals, the goals themselves are not as important as the art of goals. Cause like here, like we used to follow this, we've kind of got away from it, but like in the first few years of doing this, we would follow this, this program of like every 90 days, we would have a set of goals, and doing it over the course of several years, you would start to see as time would go on, quarter over quarter, we would get better at like choosing the right goals, because you sit down and you create these goals, and depending on whatever your emotional state is, 90 days later, you'll look back at the goals that you set and you're like, it was a fucking retarded goal. That goal like absolutely was never gonna, or it was too vague, or it wasn't specific enough, and it it was just too out there. And it's like, but the more you get into goal setting as a process, like everything else that we talk about, the process of it is what brings the results.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I kind of think it's like we set a goal, and the Tao is like this current, and we're birds, so to speak. And like, okay, I'm going to aim in that general direction. That is my direction. And I'm going to try and use this current so I can use as little effort as possible. And some of that may mean I'm going to have to come all the way back and follow this current this way. And then it's going to take me all the way sideways. And then lo and behold, what do you know? I end up where I wanted to go to begin with. Sometimes not. Sometimes we find something even more. We come over a ridge and we're like, forget that. Look at that waterfall. That's amazing. I was just looking at that little tree. Look at that waterfall, So, but I think the key is the goal, right? We talked about it, right? And I just reposted it. It's like we talked about contentment and happiness. It's like if your goal is to get over this ridge and you have this goal over here, and you, as the Tao, takes you this way and this way. And listen, that's the way business is. One of the things I remember being in business school and having an entrepreneur class, which was the best. You'll identify completely with this, being an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur like you are, is, the one common thing, we would have people come in like every week, sometimes two people every week that were entrepreneurs. And, some of them, one of the guys was, I think his name's John Mackey from Whole Foods, who started Whole Foods. And so it's like that level. Our professor, John Elstrott, was like one of the founders of Celestial Seasonings, the tea brand. Yeah. So, we're talking about big time.
Major players.
Major players. And over and over again, and some failed and some succeeded. And but the overarching theme that I got out of it was that on every one of these people's journeys, they encountered like a dark night of the soul, where it was like, we're done. It's over. The company's bankrupt. Just like Apple. Like Apple in the late 90s. They were done.
Yeah, they were like 3 weeks of payroll
Done.
left in the bank account. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, they were done.
Yeah.
And not only that, no one even looked at, not only did you not have any money, the brand was so bankrupt. I grew up programming, learning to program Visual Basic on an Apple IIe when, I was a little kid. And so I was an Apple. I've always been an Apple like fanatic. And I even got to the point where I ditched Apple and I went to Windows. I never thought I would do that, but they were bankrupt in not only the financial sense, but the brand sense. And now, so every company, went through, it was interesting, went through that period where they're like, we are done. But if they held on long enough, the tide, the current of the towel would switch and ricochet them and, slingshot them right back towards their goal.
That's so much it. That is so much it. It's just it's the hanging. It's like you got to do the right things, but it won't always be the right time.
No.
But you got to stay doing
and
the right things.
And it won't always be the right result.
And it won't always be the right result. But like if you stay in long enough, things happen and that current comes and then takes you much further on up. But I think that's the truest statement in the game of like being an entrepreneur, being in business is like, do you have the intestinal fortitude to hang on, through the ups and downs? And that's really what it's about. It's more about that than anything else, I think.
Yeah, I think that's life. And for me, I think, Jesse, the question is for the value, if you think about what we were talking about and the universality of what we're saying, because we're both like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And so if the universality of what we're saying, is applicable to all of our lives, not entrepreneurs or not, but, the question is it's not judging how you are when you're on stage and you're accepting an award. It's what was your attitude and what was your mindset when you were in the dark night of the soul, when the current was ripping you backwards. Were you able to enjoy the moment? And that's fucking difficult. That's very difficult. But that's,
or do you when you're down and you're out, do you blame? Do you create narratives as to the reason why? And then do you hide your head in the sand and not try again? And like all of these things that or do you grit and bear it and you get up again, and that's, are you going to,
I think what you're hitting on is right there. You're going to play victim.
Yeah.
And make excuses. Or are you going to be like, but even more than having the fortitude, can I say, you know what? I'm just fucking grateful to have this experience right now and be like, I get to see, this is going to be the moment, because the moments that we remember when we're on stage, the moments that are always quoted are the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
The person is always like, I remember when I was down and out. And those are what make the journey so worthwhile.
Because you believed that
That's
somewhere,
right.
somehow, some way that it's going to get better.
And so those moments become the most important parts of the story.
Fucking A.
So can you say when you get knocked down, can you laugh and go, all right, let's go. Let's do it again. This is it. Can you enjoy that? Can you say, wow, or were you just a miserable, neurotic, that's the difference. We all have that choice. Can we be the Zen master? And it's hard because, like I said, 3 days ago, I knew I was the observer of my mind and my ego, and watching my false identity, watching this thing, be like getting frustrated and being like, man, this sucks. And I'm like, no, it doesn't suck. It doesn't. It's going to turn. So be cool. Enjoy it. Enjoy what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Because it
does turn. And it turns.
It
It
always
always
2
turns.
days later, I was like, oh my gosh, everything's. So you know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 days? It's going to turn again.
Yeah.
And can we have that like where we're like, wow, that was really, really, really cool, man.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's really, you know, I'm one chapter away from the book. I got one more.
And then
That's another thing I'm almost done with. I'm so excited.
how are you
Year and
feeling
a
about
half.
that?
I'm
Is that
so
like,
I'm so
is it,
stoked.
you feel positive, you feel anxious, you feel like where you're at with it?
I'm so stoked on it.
You feel like
I've never read anything like it. It's very, very cool. It's totally different than any, and that was always my goal, is to do something. Because if it's not if I'm doing something that's not wholly original, then what's the point of doing it, right?
And then what are you going to, like, you have a publisher? Like, how do you do it?
I don't know, because I don't know if I want to go with the publisher for this one, because mainly I'm going to be using it with a lot of my clients. And so I don't know if I want to give up that much. And so maybe what I'll do is, work with a publishing house or a small publishing house where I retain most of the rights, because only thing, you give up so much. Like on my last book with Random House, dude, you make so little and they do so little.
Yeah.
And so in the age of, readily available distribution, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm like, I don't know if I want to, I might
do audio
for a small, I don't know. Maybe if I do audio, it's either going to be me doing the audio, cause I've done so much voiceover, or just finding some way I could program my voice and just use an AI to do the reading and do the audio.
Interesting. I never thought about that, but that's probably a doable thing,
dude. My buddy just sent me. He goes, dude, this is the best podcast I listen to. You're not gonna believe this, bro. He's like, this podcast is so informative for his industry. He's in the apparel industry. He used to work for Ruka, is one of my jiu-jitsu training partners, black belt, and he was having to research his company. Is going to release some things in Europe, and there are new regulations coming into Europe and the United States on sustainability and the legal requirements and jumping through the hoops and all of that. And the main thing is just showing where everything's been built. I mean, so it's not slave, child slave, all that
basic stuff.
Yeah, you would think.
You would think. Amazing.
Yeah. And so he's like, dude, I just listened to this podcast. This podcast has 2 AI hosts.
Wow.
Yeah. So they just point the algorithms out into the internet to gather as much information on apparel sustainability and legal requirements in the United States and Europe. And they go out and gather all the information, and then the AI hosts have a conversation. And that's what you're listening to.
Wow. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
And he's like, dude, it's amazing.
Unreal. So it's probably pretty realistic for you to program your voice and have the AI read it.
Yeah. I mean, what I would really like, if I could program the voice, and this is my like dream, and I know it can be done, is to program the voice and program and to have a program where people at any point could interrupt the reading and ask questions of the AI me.
Interesting.
Dude, how cool would that be?
Super cool.
I know.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
I know, dude, right? But that's not like we're looking at the future, man. We're in the age already of AI hosts, like I said, and they're not providing the AIs with a transcript it's just like you and I talking.
Yep.
They're both just fully versed in that subject and just having this dialogue. Dude, that's crazy.
Super crazy.
I know.
The fuck are we
So
gonna do?
I don't know, man. So there's an author that I really like, and he set up. There's actually a few authors, David Godman being one, and Rupert Spira being another, who have both just decided. And David Godman wrote a book called I Am That on Ramana Maharshi's teachings. And that was one of the big books of coming out of India back in the, I think it was in the late 70s or early 80s. And I mean, big book, worldwide, international.
I Am That
book.
It's called?
Yeah. Really one of my favorite. It's a really, really good book. And he finally just pulled back from, I think it might've been Penguin. Yeah, it was Penguin was his publisher. And he just pulled back the rights and was like, why am I using you guys?
Yeah.
What are you providing here? You're not providing anything.
It's like all the distribution, like in the music business, the movie business, they just rape the artists.
Mm-hmm. So I think for something that's like niche, like this is like my book is on diet and meditation and all that and working out, and I'm like why in the world would I not try and keep everything I can, because I'm going to be doing most of the marketing. I'm going to be doing the interviews and the podcasts and all that. Why in the world? So that's kind of like what I'm wrestling with. As you can hear probably from what I'm saying, is I'm probably not looking for a big publisher for that. It would have to be, okay. I think if you're like more mainstream and you're doing something, then that makes more sense.
Sure.
Something more mainstream. So like I said, I've already had this experience. I had, the biggest publisher in the world with Random House and, who was it? It might've been Penguin in Australia also that published my book, but dude, they don't do shit. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah, Rupert Spira set up his, own publishing house that way too. So we'll see what happens. But speaking of Rupert Spira, I really like his work, and I just started reading a book of his, and it's really, really interesting. So my approach for the past like 20 years has been almost a Vedantic. It's called Vedantic approach, Advaita Vedanta, and that is turning always inward. Always, when there's an issue, turn inward. You have a problem with people outside, you have a problem with the world, you have a problem, turn inward, right? If I have a problem where I'm becoming really frustrated with the Tao, the energy of the world, like we were saying, I don't allow my mind, because I understand that, for me, so much of it started with you're not your thoughts, right? That's the foundation of everything. You're not your thoughts. You have 40,000 thoughts a day. You're clearly, you need to start distancing yourself from your thoughts, or else you're going to be a neurotic mess. And then it became, okay, well, you're not your emotions, right? And a way to really see that is to look at the metaphor that I often think of, is that there is this slipstream going across your brain at all times of your awareness, of your consciousness, of thoughts, ideas, desires, memories, hopes, whatever, And so the idea is that with the Vedantic approach is to watch that slipstream and understand that that's not you. You are the awareness. So the slipstream is like a hologram, right? Or a film strip that the awareness is shining through. And at all times, we can distance ourselves from the movie, from the slipstream. But our awareness is completely unimpacted by what is taking place in in awareness is of what's happening in the slipstream. Just like a projector light that's going through a film strip, when the film runs out, it's still just as pure, whether it was a horror movie, no matter what it was. Thriller, a million people were shot. It wasn't real.
It's just so challenging not to get pulled in. You know what I mean? I think like the journey and the skill set or the practice is like you start to become aware of being able to see it, and you start to see the separation because you have these moments of, all right, I'm standing outside of this thing and I'm watching it take place. Almost like when people talk about outer body experiences, almost like that. And then you go through these moments of life where you see the separation, but you always get pulled back in. You always get pulled back in. Now you're in the slipstream and you're navigating through. And sometimes it feels good, and sometimes you're swimming against it. And but that's like what you talk about with meditation, about the recognize, return. What is it? Recognize,
release and return.
Release and return. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because that's really all you can do. All you can do is just have that realization to where, like, okay, I am caught up in my own thoughts. My brain and my mind is running away with me. I got to step out. And I got to I got to detach and let that bitch roll. And
what you just said, though, is the key, is that it is unrealistic to think that you're going to detach and it's going to stop. No.
Yeah.
It's going to let it roll. It's just going to keep doing its thing and spinning until it runs out of energy, or until you dispel that energy. But you can still detach and watch it going crazy.
And that's why, what's so interesting is that, like, people talk about now, like, now people will say, like, oh, people are depressed and this and that, and exercise and work out. But one of the things about working out and physical activity is, like you're saying, like, you tire yourself out. If you tire out your body, your mind will slow down too. And then once it slows down, then you feel better. And, like, not everybody is as aware of the things that we're talking about, but it's all the same thing.
It is.
It's all the same thing.
But I find that, for me, what happens with exercise and jujitsu and all of that is that it becomes very, very addicting. And what we're addicted to is the feeling, just the letting go of the energy, of getting rid of that energy. Right. And so for me, my journey has been to consciously understand the phenomenon of what's happening and to take more control over it, and saying, like, okay, I'm aware. I want to be, they talk about, like, enlightenment, liberation, all that. It's an awakening. Like, are you going to wake up from the matrix? Do you want to wake up or not? Do you want to take the red pill or the blue pill? Are you going to wake up? For me, I want to wake up. And the awakening is awakening to the machinery and the conspiracies and the illusions of my mind. Right? So that I can master them. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm feeling so bad, I got to go work out. And then going to work out and then going, oh, I feel so much better, when I don't understand why I didn't feel good.
Sure.
And I don't understand why I feel better.
Yeah, I think that, like, what you're talking about is kind of like the next level. I think that, like, because you got a lot of people walking around that are like, they sit, I mean, let's just pretend you and I were sitting at a bar at a restaurant and we start talking this shit, and there's a lot of people fucking eyes glaze over and they're like, oh, what the fuck are you guys talking about? You know what I mean? Like completely, can't even get in. And I think
I get that. It's scary.
It's super scary.
It's super scary to go into your mind, and the ego, when you don't realize that you're not your thoughts, and you're not your emotions, and you're not your stories. And then the next level, then the next level is understanding, wait a minute, my ego, this person, if you just close your eyes right now and you go into your mind can you find yourself?
Yeah, like or are you completely lost in the cacophony of thoughts?
I don't care. My experience in working with people is that you can spend a million years going into your mind and you'll never find yourself
Sure.
because you don't exist. You can't find it. You go in there, go find it. What is it? What does it look like? What does it look like? Go ahead, go find it, go pick it up. Go tell me what it is. What is it? Describe it to me. Go in there and describe it to me. You can't find it. It doesn't exist.
It's just the awareness of it.
That's the awareness. And then coupled with you have the mind is thinking and you're following it and you're just a slave to it. And then, so the awakening to that is awakening to watching the slipstream and having the objectivity to it and saying, wait a minute, the slipstream is also this character, this avatar that is interacting with the world. And I can watch that also. It's just as relevant for me to watch the slipstream of thoughts and ideas and images as it is for me to watch the character that is Nick and watch it wake up in the morning and watch it meditate and watch it go do this. It's the same thing. That's the Vedantic approach. So Advaita Vedanta is turning inward, constantly turning inward and learning that all the illusion that we live in. And so then there's another approach called the outward facing path, which is the tantric approach, which is to say, okay, I'm going to experience everything outward. But before we even talk about that, I don't think we've ever done this, where you go ahead and look at your microphone and touch your microphone, right? So you see your finger on your microphone right there?
Yeah.
You see that image? Where is that image?
Well, right now I'm looking at the screen.
No, but look at it. Look at your finger and look at your finger. Where is the image of that? Where is it?
I guess it's in my mind.
That's right.
Yeah, like where is the image? It's in my mind.
Where is the image? It is in your mind.
It's being seen through my eyes, but my eyes are processing it into my mind.
That's right. And so what is...
That's trippy.
How crazy is that?
That's trippy as fuck.
That image is completely and 100% in your mind.
And therefore, so is everything else.
A film is what? Just a series of images.
Jesus.
So everything that you are seeing, everything that you have ever seen, where is it? It all took place in your mind. And hold on, Jesse. Okay. So put your finger on the thing again.
Okay.
The feeling of your finger on the microphone. Where is that?
Also in my mind.
That's right. And the sound of me telling you, where is that?
In my mind.
And it's only in your mind. Every sense, everything you've ever experienced is only taking place in your mind.
And to take it to the next level of just absolute insanity is that, like, that's true of every individual on this planet. And so it would be one thing if we lived like a solitary existence, right? If there was no you, there was only me, and we were all alone. But then you take that same thing and you multiply it by the 7 billion people that are walking around the planet and all the interactions between us. That's why it's so crazy.
That's right. I'm going to show you something.
Holy shit.
Crazy, but let's turn it inward. Let's always turn it. The Vedantic approach is to continually don't think about anything else outside of you. Don't turn it inward. And you can start to understand the importance and why I always stress turn it inward, because there is nothing else.
But I struggle with that. And I know the struggle is not real. I know, like, because
your ego.
And the programming of, if you're turning inward all the time and you're only thinking about you're selfish. And that's like a mental block that I have, to where it's like, well, if that's the existence that you pursue, then you're a selfish piece of shit. And, but when you sit and you talk through this, like that, which all the people that would call you a selfish piece of shit have never even done half of the self-exploration that you and I have done. You realize that there is no other choice. There
is no other choice.
Like you're saying, because everything exists in your mind. That's
everything. And not only that, if you, the person unwilling, which we've all been, like I love Peter Attia, Dr. Peter Attia, and his just being like, I was the biggest piece of shit in the world until I started like dealing with my shit and started going inward and meditating and doing all this. That resonates with me big time, right? And so what he recognized, and so I'm using his example because I had the same experience, is that the greatest thing that I could give to my family and friends and community and the world is getting my shit together. And because everything exists in my mind, there's no way I can solve my problems externalizing. I have to internalize my attention and my focus.
Yeah. And you can't be good for other people if you can't have your shit together.
That's right. So when I'm fighting the Tao and things aren't going so well, is it better for my family and my friends and my business partners and people that I deal with for me to be freaking the fuck out because I have this ego, my false identity thinks that it should be in control, and it's angry and it's blaming everybody around me and right? Or would it be better if I was like, told everybody, listen, I'm the calm general, I'm the Zen master, the captain. We got this. Everything's going to be okay. It's going to turn around. Just hang on. In fact, let's enjoy it. If I can do that for people when they're freaking out on a sinking ship, they're going to feel a lot better, right? And then then everybody calms down and we cooperate and we fix the hole in the ship and we turn it around, and all of a sudden we're there at the waterfall. Right? However you want to look at it.
Totally.
So, so back to our, this realization that, wait a minute, every single thing is happening in my mind. It is, the best way to understand it is this right here, these VR goggles. When I put these on and I'm seeing, and I'm seeing in crystalline 3D, and I'm hearing everything, it's processing zeros and ones. What the processor in here is doing is it's taking a world of zeros and ones, and it's just taking a world of data. Now, we know that with a strong enough microscope that our world is just waves. It's just quantum fluctuations, right? Quantum field theory describes that. And so at the quantum level, and what are waves? They're just information. So our brains, like the VR headset, are taking information, raw information, and saying, oh, this information that's coming in this wave along this spectrum
means this
is visual, and it's telling me what color, what based on the wavelength and all that. Now, there's a lot of that data if it's this much information coming at me visually. And what is visual? It is light photonic waves bouncing off of something and then coming into my visual cortex and it processing it and giving me depth perception because I have two eyes, giving me color, giving me shades, contrast, all of that.
and it's all being processed in your mind.
That's right. But it's no different than the data in a computer program.
Yep.
It just happens instead of being binary zeros and ones, it's just waves. So same thing with the sound coming into my ears. It's just waves. This microphone right here is not solid. It just appears solid. But that's the feeling is me touching up against waves. Sometimes it's humming. Sometimes I don't feel the humming.
Dude.
Water, whatever it is. Yeah, so that's where it is trippy and it's cool to think about, but it's important because it teaches us that if you want to deal with anything, everything in your brain, everything in the world, in the universe in your universe is being processed right here. It's all right here. If you can't lose weight, it's right here. If you can't gain muscle, it's right here. Don't go out, externalize and think you're going to go do this, or this, or take this supplement or do whatever and figure it all out. Not going to do it. Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's all
you want to reverse aging? Do it right here.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
It's wild.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
And you know, I was talking to a therapist the other day and we're talking about like politics, right? And I kind of feel like this connects. He was talking about how like anybody who's like super leaning on one side or the other, like who gets upset, it's really because they feel as though their perception of what things are is being threatened. So it's fear. It's fear to have to grapple with, well, what if everything I thought was a lie? So, and that's scary. And it's not an easy thing to like to take on. So when you're talking about what we're talking about, probably every human on a certain level like feels this stuff, like feels it like innately, but doesn't have the words for it. And then, you know, you start getting into conversations like this and people be like, oh, these guys are fucking like, you know, crazy fucking pot smoking hippie, fucking whatever fucking, you know, thing you want to put on it. Or, you know, these guys think the world is a science fiction movie but it's like everybody feels it, just like everybody feels when they get, you know, the people that get upset when, you know, you say you love Trump or you hate Trump or whatever it is. And then they feel that feeling of like, well, maybe what this person is saying is right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not what I thought that it was. And I think like what we're talking about, everybody's walking around like these issues that we have and like these blocks that we have. And like this guy can't lose weight and this guy can't stop fucking his brains out. And this guy can't fucking stop smoking crack or whatever it is. It's like this deep, deep fear of like, if I let go and, you know, just let the slipstream carry me away, you know, will I be either proven wrong or proven right? And will it?
It's being terrified. People are terrified of uncertainty and terrified of just floating in the river.
And they don't have the words for it. They don't have the words for it. They don't know how, you know, it's one of my favorite things. It's not my favorite thing, but it's just something that, you know, not to say this is something that I enjoy, but it's something that always makes my mind fire is like, when I'm in a situation with somebody and it's obvious that they're afraid and I'm like, yeah, you're scared, right? I'm like, no, I'm not scared. And like, and like for the last 5 minutes of the conversation, they're freaking the fuck out. You can see it. But when I go, you're scared and it's okay. I'm like, no, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. You know? And it's like, and it just happens so. It's because it's
anything but being afraid.
Can't even admit it. Can't even admit it.
But let me tell you something. The one thing you learn when you sit with your mind long enough and you identify with it is anytime someone's angry, they're afraid. Fear is just anger that they don't want to. I mean, anger is just fear that they look at and their ego is like, I cannot admit I'm afraid. So because of that, I'm afraid to admit I'm afraid. So I'm going to turn it and I'm going to take control of the situation.
Yeah, anger is the reaction.
Exactly.
Anger's the reaction to being afraid.
Of a very, very undisciplined mind.
Yeah.
People that like get angry, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a white belt. You know, I hate to judge that way, but I'm like, I basically, I'm like, yeah, I remember when I was a white belt too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I remember being a white belt.
Yeah. I mean, but getting angry all the time is something that's not normal. You know what I mean? Like you have a problem.
You don't ever have to get angry. You don't ever have to get angry. It's a choice. It's a conscious, it's usually a subconscious choice, but I don't ever give in to anger. Ever.
Yeah. I don't get angry often. I get frustrated and I get anxious, but I don't.
But I think that's the path though, Jesse, is you're just getting like more and more aware of, okay, why am I choosing this? You know what I mean? It's like we start becoming like the only person that anger is hurting is me. It's not it's not helping me accomplish anything.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I'm frustrated. I told you that like 2 days ago. I was how I felt 2 days ago when things were not. The current was going against me. I was like, but giving into the anger is for me now just like not acceptable. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get like, that sucks. You know what I mean? That fucking sucks. I just got this bill. I just got this whatever tax bill. I got whatever. So I get a tax bill from the IRS. If I freak out and start punching holes in the wall, right? Kicking down the door and smashing
you have a problem.
Right?
Real
but
problem.
How any degree of anger is really just along that spectrum. It doesn't accomplish anything.
I had a close friend and we parted ways. He was like that. You always get angry, and it was because he was afraid. And you know what? And he couldn't admit it.
Yeah.
And he couldn't admit it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it doesn't mean, you know, I think the journey is that it's silly to think that, you know, that we're not going to have that slip up, or all of a sudden we find ourselves inside the slipstream, caught in it. And then I think it's very important not to beat ourselves up over it either. And to understand I'm human and I'm growing and I'm doing it less than I used to. And I'm not going, dude, to me, giving into anger is no different than giving into, you know, eating sweets or eating anything else. It's going to happen. You know, we're going to give in to at some point until we are completely detached and happy and enlightened. I mean, that's the thing, is a lot of people, I think I went through this thing where, you know, when I was very young, a lot younger, where I was like, well, you know, if the goal is detachment, then you're not enjoying life. No, it's quite the opposite. The less detached I can be, the more I can watch the movie and thoroughly enjoy every moment of it and be like, this is awesome. This is cool. Even the shit, when shit hits the fan, you know?
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
But that's the idea, is to be able to not just to stand back and watch the awareness work through the slipstream, but also watch our character, you know, watch my character go about the things in the video game, right? If everything is being processed right here, you know what I mean? Then I'm really watching all of it. All of it.
Which one is that?
This is the MetaQuest VR.
Okay.
The number 3. It's actually really, really, really cool, because I just learned like 2 weeks ago or a week ago that they have an HDMI connector that you can connect it to your iPad or your Apple TV or your computer, and you could just watch anything you have, or even just work on the computer.
Wow.
Watching this thing. So I just was watching Last night I was watching in bed Mad Max Furiosa, the new Mad Max. And dude, it's so cool because you're just sitting there watching like an IMAX.
You're in it.
You're watching an IMAX. You're like,
You use it a lot, the headset?
I do. You know, the thing is, like, I had neck surgery, you know? And so because I had neck surgery, sometimes sitting up and watching like 3 hours of a movie or whatever, it just starts to bother my neck, you know? And so this helps me to just sit there, you know, and just be chill, you know? And I enjoy that. I enjoy that. I don't use it so much like during the day, but if I'm ever chilling at night and I'm like, yeah, man, I want to watch IMAX, you know, it's cool. It's cool. So you can hook it up to a PlayStation and just on anything with an HDMI out, you could hook it up and play it. So
it's cool.
Yeah. So anyways, I think this was a good one because, you know, the idea, I think we're brushing up against a few things, is that the resistance that some people, you know, feel to going inward is like your whole world is right there. And if you don't like going right there, then I think you need to really figure out what it is that you're afraid of.
At least try, you know what I mean? And understand that like there is something and you got to start. It doesn't mean that you're going to solve the problem.
Everything, the whole universe is right there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, from a very metaphysical question, you know, you look at like philosophers like Donald Hoffman out of UC Irvine, and, you know, we'll go even deeper that, you know, there's the quantum physicists, you know, the quantum physicist Max Planck was he's the godfather of all quantum physics. And his belief was that underlying the entire universe is a field, and that field is consciousness. And everything springs from there. Everything. And our consciousness is actually being fed by that. So we have like a portal inside of us that connects to that infinite field of consciousness. And so we are that infinite field of consciousness. And then you have Edward Schrodinger of the famed Schrodinger's cat. Yeah. He believed the same thing. A quantum field of consciousness underlies everything. So if you really want to start understanding the universe, it starts right here. It doesn't start out there.
It is.
You go through here
universe.
And connect. Yes. And so there's this holographic theory that, you know, the reality of the universe is that it's all 2D. It's all two-dimensional holographic theory, and that it is our minds. This will blow you away. Is that it's our minds interacting with the two-dimensional strata of information, processing it like this. Okay, that computer code is basically like two-dimensional, right? It's just ones and zeros in a chip. And those ones and zeros, they're like, this is what the universe actually is. What we're seeing is actually not real. What we're seeing is our minds creating 3 dimensions, our minds creating out of all the information, creating time, creating that 3-dimensional space. And so it's really right here. And so if your universe, if what you're seeing in the world and the way things are unfolding is not working out for you, then you got to get in here, because your mind is actually creating the entire universe.
It's true.
That's wild. And so, you know, the idea of, you know, with the double slit experiment and collapsing the wave function in quantum physics, it's like the conscious interaction, our consciousness actually creates the universe. The more you dig into it, it's so cool. But I'm bringing that up because this is it. This is the final frontier. This is where, if you want to master the mind, if you want to master your body, if you want to master your world, you got to go in here. There's no going out there. It's not going to accomplish anything.
And there's like so much like complicated fields of study to all this shit, but it's really just like in the breath. It's just in and out. There's so much. There's like physicists and philosophers and like so much shit. And it's like, and it's as simple. It is the most simple thing in existence.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is what, I remind myself, and I tell people all the time, whenever anything becomes, well, what about this? And what about that? It's like, turn it around and go inward. What about him? What about she did that? Turn it around. You have a problem in your relationship, turn it around and go inward. Okay. You're having a problem with this person, turn it around and go inward. You're having a problem with what's happening in Washington, D.C., turn it around and go inward. You're having a problem with he's too woke and this and that, and San Francisco's this, and what's happening in Nigeria, and turn it around and go inward. Would I, even the study of meditation and Advaita Vedanta and talking about it and watching all these videos, you know what? I think of it as, I notice my mind wants to do it too. My ego wants to do it too, is the fucking fastest way to get me to clean my house when I was in college. You know how it was to do it? If you wanted to get me to clean my house, just give me a homework assignment. Because my mind is like, oh shit, I'll get to that as soon as I can start cleaning. I would do anything to avoid dealing with what I had to deal with.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
So the homework assignment is very simple. Turn inward and spend time in your mind. Turn inward and master your mind. But what do we do when we're faced with that? We find a million fucking other things to deal with.
Instantaneously.
Yes, dude. Homework, whatever, man. I would, if as soon as I had that assignment and that paper had to be written, and the closer the deadline come, the cleaner my house got. I'll be scrubbing toilets with a toothbrush, man. Anything to avoid doing what had to be done. And that's the way our minds are with meditation or anything else. It's like, I'll get to that. Let me deal with this first.
Yep.
Anyways,
crazy.
Man. Anyways, yeah. This was a good one, man. This was a good one. You reading anything? Anything up?
Not yet.
For me, it's Mad Max. I finally dealt.
I saw that. That was good.
I didn't finish it yet. I'm like halfway through. I'm one of those, I lay down and I start falling asleep.
Yeah. Lately too, I've like the phone, like trying to watch TV, like, and having the phone near me. That makes it challenging.
It's brutal. When are we going to we're either going to integrate these phones into our brains and become cyborgs, or throw them the hell away. It's crazy.
I hope it's
too much.
It's too much.
Right? I know
it's too much.
But Mad Max, I've enjoyed it. It's not as good as the first. I thought Fury Road was one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Fury Road was better. Furiosa was good.
Yeah, Furiosa was good. And that's Chris Hemsworth. He has like a fake nose, right?
Didn't seem like him, right?
He is amazing.
Yeah, very good.
Amazing in this movie.
Very good.
I was like, dude, he's so good.
And she's really good. That actress, she's great.
Which one?
The Furiosa. I mean, I don't know. Is
the little
Anna
girl?
Anna something.
Dude, I can't get over how angry I am at the beginning. I don't want to spoil it, but her getting caught was purely her own stupidity. She had no reason to climb down that. I'm like, you put the whole yourself, your mom got killed, all of it because of your stupidity. I was like, I'm still angry about it.
Have you ever seen the Queen's Gambit that she's in?
No.
That's on Netflix.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
Really?
And she is amazing in it. That's one that's one I recommend big time. Queen's Gambit is tremendous.
What's it about?
It's about chess. It's about her. She's like a young chess prodigy. And she's a female. And it's very unexpected. And then she's got, and she becomes obsessed, and then it's about like being obsessed and someone who's high performing, and how obsession, even though you're high performing, the obsession is taking you to places that are not good. And very good, very good.
I gotta watch that maybe this week. That'll be. Is it a series or a movie?
It's Netflix. It's a series.
Okay.
I think it's just one season. It's great.
Cool. I'm gonna check it out. All right, brother. This was a good one, man. Till next one. It was awesome.